Hi, it's Deb from Project Life Deb's Way. Again, I've got a fantastic layout for you. This time I have used, once again, Minty papers, and it's the Homemade collection. It's a beautiful collection with very soft pinks and apricots and etc., which makes a very nice, easy-going layout. In this layout I will be doing a small little fold card that opens up like that and closes, and I will show you how I use this and make this type of card and how to put it into your folder for you. So that is one of the extras that I will be doing. And once again, I have also done one of my little cheat sheets again, which will be on my website, which is projectlifedebsway.com. That way you can actually save it as a JPEG, and then you sort of know the bits that I've used of that paper collection. And as I go through, once again, I have done a photo shot of the cards for each of the card layouts with all the different layerings and what sizes I have cut, what extras I've used for that card. So before you make the card, you can actually do all of your cutting and then actually follow me through as I make those cards. I hope you do like that new way of doing things. I think it will help everybody when they're following my videos. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like and ring the bell. That way you get notifications when I've got new content that comes up into my video. And I also, if you leave a comment, I do like to read your comments and etc., because it helps me grow as a station. So I will give you a sneak peek of what the layout looks like, and then also what papers and things I've actually used to add to my layout, so you know what to get. So let's get on with the fun. Here is a sneak peek of the process video completed with all my photographs in, and also the flap page that we have included in this process video, which I will show you how to put into your plastic sleeve system at the end of the video. I've also included the cutting instructions on a sheet, which will be on my website for Project Life Deb's Way, and also my web page, so you can have a look and see, have a look at that if you want to know what the cutting cards are. So let's get on and have some fun. Now, as I've already said, I used the Minty papers and I used the pack from Homemade. Now, I didn't use all of the cards in this particular collection, and I didn't use any of the ephemera sheet at all. What I did use, and unfortunately I'll have to show you this on the small 6x6 pad because I've already used all the papers up. Now, what I did use was this sheet here. I'll turn it this way so it's the correct way. This sheet here with the window, and I also used, what I didn't use in the front of the sheet, I used this particular paper. I used this paper here with the big ring, and I also used quite a bit of the pink spot that is with that paper. I used a couple of squares from here and this little bit here of this particular paper. This is what I cut all of my flowers out of, and I have, you can actually see here, I've actually got the flowers which I've actually cut from that card. I also have all the cutting directions of what I cut from those cards. And the cut apart sheet here, I just cut them all over, and this is what I used for my cutouts and ephemera and things. And I think I only had 2 of these cards left by the time I had actually finished this layout. So basically with the papers, I used 1 each of these sheets, and the 1 sheet here, I had 2 pieces of the white cardstock, which I have cut for my photo mats, and I did use the pink cardstock, which I've got the cutting directions, which I used most of. I used 2 sheets of the craft for my cutting, and I also used half a sheet of this nice greeny coloured paper as well. So they're the only papers that I used for this layout. I also used a distress ink for around edging my cards and etc. And I did also use some old book papers like this, and I used roughly about 4 of these sheets, which I just tore out and I've cut to size. It just adds a nice little element to the layout. As far as the extras I have used, I just used I had a string of leaves that were about this long, and I've cut them up all into little leaves. So I used those. I used roughly about 3 of these large flowers, about 5 of these, about 4 of these, 4 of these, and about 4 of flowers about that size in my layout. I also cut from my papers, from the cards, one of these with the stitching round. If you haven't got any die cuts like this, you could actually just sort of do a square and just round the corner off and just cut it to give you a very similar effect as that. Some of the small flowers I used were from the Prima. These are quite good value because you get a lot of small flowers and they're nice and flat. So they're the things I used in this layout. So we'll get on and start making our layout. Now, as you can see from here, you need 9 of these cards. So put 9 of these cards to one side, so you will end up with 3 6x4s. Now all of those now need to be cut into half, which is 3x4. So then you would cut each one of these down by 3x4, and then you will have all the mats and etc. that you need. And with the pink, once again, you would cut at 4 again, and then cut another strip of 4, and then you would cut all of them into half, so you end up all with 6x4s, and then you would put 3 of those aside, and then you would cut 2 of those into 3x4s, and that way you would end up with all your mats. Now I only used half a sheet of the green, so once again you would cut it at 4 and 8, and then you would cut 2 of those sheets into 3x4s, and then you need to cut a 4x4 out of that last 4x6 sheet. With your photo mats, you can see once again I have used 2 sheets. I've cut at 4 and then I've cut at 8 for both of the sheets. I then had 2 strips which I cut into 3x4s, and one of them I cut an extra. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those sheets, 6x4 sheets, you need to cut into half to 3x4s, and that way you will have all of your coloured cardstock cut. I then cut all my cut apart sheets down into the 3x4s and put those to one side. Now with the M1 sheet with the green on the back, I once again cut 4 inches and 8 inches, and that is with the strip at the bottom. So then you'll end up with those flowers there in the corner, the window in this one, and then you've got your card with the there. So that's how we cut that one. So they're all 6x4 cards. I then cut my M2 paper, which has got the pink polka dot there. I have cut this a little bit differently. You've got the screw piece at the top there. Now with the pink polka dot paper, M2, I did a little bit of different cutting. I actually cut the card so the screw piece is sitting at the top. I actually cut in 4 inches all the way down. So that was my first cut that I did, is straight down here. I then cut a cut. I swiveled the rest of the card down and cut it at 4.5 across here, and then I made a 4x6 cut across this piece of card, so it was sort of in the middle without this ring. I then did a 3.5x6 piece here and a 3x4 at the bottom, and this is the cutout. We actually cut that flower out. So that is how I cut the pink polka dot card. So that will give you a clue on how the cutting will work on these particular papers. And of course these are the flowers that I have actually cut. I also cut a piece of card 5.5 by 1.5 here, and also 3.5 by 3.5 next to that, which will show you how I did my cutting. Now this is card number 1, which is virtually an eye candy card, and we will be doing this card that opens up with the 2 cards. So we'll start off with our base card, then we will work on the top, and then we will work on the underneath, and we put the flap piece in. So our base card basically was cut from, have a look at our mug map here. It came from this piece here, like that. So we are going to turn that over, and we're going to use the greeny coloured behind. So that is your 6x4. We then have our little mat underneath, which I've cut from the 6x4 1/4 inch off of both sides, and so we will just attach that to our base card, remembering that you don't need a lot of tape because it is in a plastic folder, this particular card. Now this white was a 6x4, and I've cut 1/2 inch off of 2 sides, so that then gets attached to the card. and I have inked all around the edges of the green card. So that was very, very easy. That will fit a cut down 6x4 photograph. So how easy was that? Now with our top card, I have got my 6x4 in the craft. I then cut this piece, which comes from the top of that card. I then cut off 1/4 of an inch off of the two sides to give me just that little border all around the card, and I've edged that with the distress ink. Now with these do have to be attached really, really well to your card. So I would actually make sure that you put tape all the way around this, because it will be touched quite a bit and it's not in the plastic folder. So we will just attach that to our card like that. Now this flower here is the bottom flower down here on your cut apart flower sheet. Now with this, I have cut the flowers out. I am just putting a bit of edging on there to get rid of all the little white spots and putting that to one side. Now with this, I have got one of the 3x4 craft mats we cut. This is a true 3x4 that hasn't been cut down at all. Now this is going to stick just overlapping the other 3x4 card that will sit here. So to do that, I would actually get one of your 3x4s and just pop that down like so. So you can get a visual of where this card will physically sit. And you need the overlap to be 1 1/4 inches over. So just measure 1 1/4 inches from the edge of the card, and that is absolute perfect for it to sit there. So put a tiny little pencil mark, which you can rub out later, where your card will actually sit on this other card. So that is 1 1/4 inch overlap. Now, once we have done that, we can start attaching, building this particular card up. So I have got some white of the 3x4, and I have cut that down to 3 3/4 by 2 3/4, so that you get a tiny little bit of a border all the way around. And once again, when you attach this card, you do need it well attached. So make sure you put your tape on all 4 sides of that card. And then that will just go on, leaving a small border all the way around. Now this particular card, once again, just edge very lightly around the edge, and once again this is 3 1/2 by 2 1/2. Make sure it's well taped all the way around. Make sure your print is running the right way, and that goes into the middle of that card. And this is from this piece here, the 3x4 there, cut with the print. Now we need to attach this at the bottom just a little bit up, like so. So you know where your little mark is, so you know it's 1 1/4, so you can actually run your tape to attach that card. Now before you do that, I cut from the book page a small piece of this paper to actually put underneath. So when you fold it over, you have actually got something on that card. So I'm just going to grunge that up a little bit with my distress ink, and I'm going to attach that onto my card underneath. So you will now have your white on that side, and you will have your print, which I've put upside down. So I'll quickly take that off because that is not allowable. So make sure you don't make the same mistake as me. And attach that underneath like so. Good. Now I'm just going to trim just a bit off of that card because I can. Now we will attach that now to this card. So we know we have 1 1/4 inches. So run your tape down and make sure it's well and truly stuck. And I just put that just a little bit above where this card finishes, so you can just see a bit on the bottom. Well and truly stick that down so that when you fold over, you can actually see you have got that piece of paper, which I didn't do gunge all the way around. So I'll just add a little bit of gunge to it now. Okay, so there we have that cut out. With this particular one, I did use a little die cut like this, which I've completely pulled apart with just 3 leaves, because I want 2 of those, and one of these I cut apart with just 1 leaf. Now I used a large flower, a smaller flower, one of these, and a couple of these. Once again, using odd numbers. So I'm going to stick these down here, but I also have this lovely cutout rose that we've cut. So what we want is that to just sit over the top, so here. And what you can do here, you can put a journaling spot, or you can write on this. If you wanted a sort of a journaling spot, you could make it out of some white paper, just put some brown edging on it, and then you can write on that. I tend to print mine up from the computer, and I will actually stick that there and maybe put the label. I will put a label up here with the date and etc., which you will see when you see the finished layout that I've done. So we'll take those off now, and we will stick our flower down, making sure you have plenty of tape on this to make sure that it stays sticking to where it needs to stick. So we're just going to pop that onto the top and down. Now I'll stick my flowers in first with some glue adhesive. I tend to use a liquid glue for this because number one, it dries very, very quickly. And then just start sort of placing your flowers. And as you know with me, I like to use nice flat flowers with not too much going on, because it has to go into an album and actually lay flat. So quite often with me, if I've got flowers, I will actually strip them back like I've done that, and take the other petals off, and I will keep stripping them down. So I do end up with quite economical flowers, because from one flower you can make about 3. And then into this, I would like a couple of diamantes put into there. So I'll just put a little bit of my glue in there, and I've got this fantastic wax pencil which you can actually pick up your diamantes with. I find it really, really handy. They're very small expense, and then you can actually buy your cheaper non-stick diamantes and that, and you can save a bit of money that way. But I did find this wax pencil absolutely fantastic buy. So there we have our diamantes in place and our flat. Now we also need our card that we use for our fold. So just find yourself any old piece of craft that you might have lying around in your craft room, and you just need a 2-inch strip cut to do your fold with. Now that particular fold, you just need to fold in half and get your bone folder and give it a good fold over. And I'll fold it the other way just to give a bit more, to get that fold really working easily. And then what we will do is we are going to pop that underneath our card like so. And for these, you really need them well taped. So I tend to use a tape, and make sure when you're putting your tape, you tape the right side. Put it just a little way away from your fold. Like so. And then you can take that off. Is because when you put your card, if you put that right up to the fold, your card will not fold over correctly. And then attach that so that you have just got that bit of a lip over there so that your mechanism will work nicely. So there we have the top layer of our card that will be folding open. Now the inside of the card you have to be a bit gentle with, because you actually have put your flowers on the other side. Probably I should have done that after, but still. Onto this front card as well, you just need to put a couple of leaves down. And tuck underneath. And if you can't fit them all, just do a bit of snipping until you can get the right amount into place. Like so, and then I want to one over here, making sure once again that you have plenty of glue on these, and then just tuck some of your little leaves in to where they need to go. Like so. And for some reason I've lost the Don Monte, so I'll put another one back on there. Okay, so now for the back, we have got our piece of newspaper print, which is 3 3/4 by 4 3/4, and once again just gunge your edges up nicely and stick that down once again really well, because it will get a fair amount of wear and tear. So then that just gets popped down like that. And as you can tell, it matches this piece here. Now I also have cut from the floral sheet, this is this piece that runs down here, which is 5.5 by 1.5, which is going just here, making sure that the roses run the right way. And once again, just gunge that up like so, and then pop your tape down and just give yourself that little border that runs all the way around. The next one is your 3 by 4 in your craft, which is like your map for your photo. Now you could do, if you wanted a true 3 by 4, make this a little bit bigger and do it 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. That is going into the top like so, and then put your photo mat in, which is 3 3/4 by 2 3/4, so that you just have that little tiny border all the way round. And there we have your first card virtually finished. Ready to go. So lesson in this one is maybe do your flowers after you have done the back. So now you have your fold card ready to go in to your album. This is card number 2. So you need this card here from the pink spot, which is this piece here with card number 2, which is your 4x6. Now what you do with that 4x6, you just need to take off 1/4 inch off of both sides, and then you have your card ready to stick onto your 6x4 craft mat. So I've gunged around the edges, and then that will get attached onto that. Like so. Just like that. Now this was the 4x4 square that was cut from the green card, and you need to cut down that small 4x4, the 3.5 by 3.5 card that was cut, and that should just fit onto that green piece. So your green piece of card is 3 3/4. So then if you do your 3.5, you should get that tiny little border all the way around. So once again, that was 3 3/4 square for your green cardstock, and this one here is 3.5 by 3.5. So we will attach this to the green card and just get a little bit around border. What you could do is cut your 3.5 and then just cut with your scissors this piece of card. And then this is going to go at the bottom of your card so that you have a small border of pink all around your card. Now your photo mat here is a 3x4 photo mat onto, and I've just cut 1/8 inch off of both sides of the 3x4 white to once again give you that small border around, and then that is attached to the card at the bottom with the same amount of border all the way around again. Now don't attach this bit yet, because what we need to do now is just pop the rose that we cut, which is this rose section just here on your flower card, and that one is going to be attached. So you pop one under and pop the pink one just over the top, like so. And there we have your second card done and finished. This is card number 3, and it's so easy. You just have your 6x4 in your pink. You have got 3 3/4, so I've just taken 1/4 inch off of 2 sides, and then that, I'm not having much luck with my runners today, am I? So then that one goes down like so. In this layer I've done a few 6x4 or near 6x4 photo mats, just to show you that you can change things up a bit. So there we have a very simple card 3. Now this is card 4. Now I'm just as this here was from the book page, and I cut a piece 5.5 inches roughly by about 2.5, and then I just tore the strip down, and you need to edge this in your brown all the way around, including down your torn edge. With this card here with the pink, I just cut off 1/4 inch off of 2 sides, and with this small strip I cut, it was a 3 inch by 5.5. Now you need to gunge just 3 sides of this like so, because that will have that paper over the top like that. And there's here, this particular one, you need to cut from this, the teapot, the rose, and then come down to here, and then you need to cut round that bow and then straight across. So you need to cut that piece out of there for your cutout. So I'll do that and I'll come back. Now the construction of this card's pretty easy. You just have to put your pink cardstock onto your craft, leaving that border all the way around. You then take this piece of paper that you have cut and and attach that onto your card like so, and not do what I did and attach it to the table. Then what you have to do then, yes, so our next piece is you get your, stick that down, put your tape down, and then you just pop this with the same border over the top and stick it down. Now your little photo mat, which I've already stuck, which is a 3x4 with just the 1/4 inch taken off 2 sides, you need to attach that to your card, which is just in the middle, down the bottom, like so. Now the little cut apart that you've done, I will just edge that. That is going to be stuck. Making sure you don't put any glue on the little bow, because you just rest that on the top of your card like so, so that you can get your photograph underneath this little piece. Now I have got your couple of little flowers here just to cover up this welcome home. So I'm going to glue that with my glue. So I'll pop my big flower on first. And get that well attached. Then pop my little flower next to that, and the little leaves I'm going to just pull apart and stick a couple of little leaves. Like that. And there we have card number 4 done. Now we'll start our cards number 5, which is called A, B, C and D. The reason why these are the 3x4 cards that go in, and they are of landscape orientation. Now what I've done here is the 2 photo mat ones that I normally do. So I've got your 3x4, and then I have just cut 1/8 of an inch off of one of the green 3x4s on 2 sides, and then 1/4 of an inch off of the white 3x4. And as you can tell there, you just get that gradual step up. So what we need to do now is we will just attach the first of the greens, just to give that little tiny border all around. Then just attach your white in the middle of that, and then repeat exactly the same on the other card. So there are our 2 photo mats that we will be making. Now these 2 cards here I have used, this is the one from up here down here in the corner, and as you can tell there's the little tape with the bits, which is your 3x4 card, which gives you your pink polka dot. And the other card I've only used your cut apart sheet, which is the one with the 2 teacups, and the other one I'll be using is the one with a little suitcase. And you will be needing to cut out from here all of the suitcase, and of course the pen won't work. You need to cut around the suitcase, this flower, and then come straight across here, making sure not to cut that rose because you're going to use that on something else, and come down for your suitcase. So that one needs cutting there. Now with this one here, we just need the cups, up to the rose. You need to cut this piece out here, then edge it in your brown. So we'll come back once I've done that. Now I've cut both of these little cutouts out now, but there is, you'll have to excuse the small because I'm having to show you on the small pad. But this one here, I'll see if I can get it to focus. This one just here with the little teapot, you need to cut out the flower here and the flower on the top of the teapot. Now the bottom flower here will be going on card number 1, but we will be using this little flower here on the 4 cards that we will be making. And that cut apart is the one that's in the top right hand corner. So this is the flowers that need to be cut out. That's the rose at the top, and this is the rose that's at the bottom because there is the teapot here, and that will go onto card number 1. So we'll put that to one side and we will put that on a bit later. So once these are cut out and you have got that small little floral piece which will go here, I have got my little flowers, my couple of leaves, which I'll chop a couple off. I also have my 2 pieces of die cut paper, one in the craft and one has come from this sheet here, and as you can see I've got 2 small circles there. So on that waist piece there I cut these 2 pieces of die cut from this card at the bottom that I didn't use. So to do this card I also have, as per cutting instructions, this little sheet here, which is the same size, which is a 3 by 4. Now what I need for you to do here is just grab it into the middle somewhere and tear down into about a 1/3 way down. So we're just going to tear this like that, so you've got a corner piece like that. And then I need you, from where you have torn, to just randomly tear straight down. And then we need to edge. Now when I'm edging this paper, I actually do it on the flat so you can really grunge it, so that your ink really makes it look like dirty paper. So there we have our grunginess done. So what we need to do now is just assemble this card. So I have got your 3 by 4 in your pink. Then in this one I have cut off 1/4 inch on 2 sides. So then that needs to go down onto that card. With the border all the way around. And then what I'm going to do is this piece here, I am going to stick on the other side and cover the whole card. Now, as I've said before, if you're using old books, please just go through the book to make sure that there isn't anything nasty in your script. I tend to find kids' books are really good because you don't have that problem. It's a mistake I've made once. Ooh. Okay, I have... So what I will do with this, I will stick this down with some glue. Because I tore the bottom piece of the paper. Just reattach it like it's never been torn. Just shows that even when you're making videos, you can have things happen. Okay, that's fine. So there we have our 2 base cards ready to go. Now this one here, we are going now to start building it up. Now I want these 2 to be in the middle of the card, so we will stick these down. On top of each other. Now there is a little hint I can give you. If you're really low on your cardstock, say for instance this craft, and you need to do a cutout like this, what you can do is, if you have got a card with your 4 by 6 craft that you're building your card up with, you can actually cut some of this card out with that cutout. Because it's all covered, you won't even notice. So that way you don't have to start a full craft sheet just to get these small cutouts. So it's just a way of saving some of your papers. So we have done that. Now we need to pop our lovely little suitcase on, which we'll sort of do to the side, so we can attach that in the middle. And once again, because this is in a plastic folder and it doesn't get the rough treatment, you don't need to support underneath because it will support itself. Now we're going to put a few little flowers in here with a couple of those leaves. And once again, we always try to do groups of 3 just to keep the numbers odd. So we're just going to cut them down. We've got our flowers. I also want one of those lovely sparkly, they really do glitter, these beads. They're pretty amazing. So I'm going to put my center on my flower. Cut my bit off. Okay, so now we just need to build our flower up. So I'll put my big flower down first. I'm going to pop that on first. Then I want my and then pop the teeny tiny one. Just tuck that underneath. And then what I do is my little leaves just poke underneath. Like so. And there we have our pretty little eye candy card. So our next card, we have got this here, and I'll rub out my numbering that I was doing to keep myself organised. Now this is just going to go onto this card here. And it just shows with these cut apart sheets that you don't need a bagging in ephemera. You can actually cut all of your own. And then what we're going to do is with this little flower, just stick him on. Poking from the side of the card. And then just snip that little bit of excess off so you've got a nice straight edge. And there we have another card. Now with these cards, if you want to do some journaling and etc., I tend to type up what I want, and I can actually put the little words in these cards and fit them in. like that. So there we have our photo cards and our little eye candy cards. So here's our left hand side layout done, and as you can see, this card here just pokes over this card here, and then when you open this up, you actually get the layout. Now, as I was saying before, that card that we had here with the floral, we are quickly going to cut that out. Very, very quickly. Don't forget when you're cutting to turn your paper, not your scissors, because you will get your cutting done a lot quicker. Okay, we have got that done. Now what that is going to do now, to finish this card off, we are going to just tuck that underneath, and if it won't tuck, just cut it straight, so then you can put it so that actually fits into that bit there. So here we have our fold card with our information and everything else. And as I said, I would actually put the title up here, and then you can put some journaling here by adding, if you type it up from your computer, or adding a piece of white cardstock that you can actually write on. And any of these photographs here, if you want to put titles and things, you can pop them underneath or on top of your photographs, which is something I do sometimes, to actually get the descriptions of what the photographs are. Now we're going to start on our right hand side of our layout, and this is card number 6, which of course is always starting from the top. So what I have got here is your 6x4 base card, and this has got a roughly a 1/4 inch all the way around, so that you've got your little border there. Now the cutter part here I have used is this piece here up at the top, that has the little wood base underneath. There it is there, right at the top of the card, which I have actually cut out. So be very, very careful that you don't touch this other bit. So come in from the side and just snip that out. So this whole thing, that includes the circle, and then you come round, cut the leaves out, the bottom rows. I didn't cut this piece out here, but I did cut the bud and then come around here. So I'll be back once I've done that. Here we go, all cut out, and as you can tell, I've just cut round that circle. So what we need to do now is start constructing our cards. So as normal, we will put our first card onto our base card. We can pop that down, and as you can tell here, I've got a slight problem. I don't think this base card is the full 6 inches, which is why I'm having a problem. So I will just get another card that I had cut out. Right. There we go, that fits better. I think one of the craft cards I cut wasn't quite 12 by 12. No, as you can see, it's a little bit short. So I think this Kaiser Craft wasn't really a true 12 by 12. There we go. That's a true 6 by 4. So maybe that's something I should have checked, that the cards were 12 by 12. So we just stick that down. Now, with this, it doesn't really matter. I think probably we'll put that at the bottom, like that. So now what we need is our lovely piece of script. And as I said, the cutting dimensions were on the diagram before I started the card. And I've gunged that up again with the brown ink. Then what we need to do now is just pop. I've cut this in half because I'm going to use the other half on another layout. So we are just going to pop this about 1/2 inch right in the middle of the card, like that. Because once we get this into place, we can build the rest. Then this piece that we have got cut out, we are going to pop with the bud pointing upwards, and just make sure that it covers over the die cut there. Now, if you are worried that this isn't sitting really straight, it doesn't fuss me. I wouldn't put anything underneath. You can actually put one piece of cardstock just underneath here, which would bring that slightly up and raised. Now, we need now to just sort of build our flowers up. So we're just randomly, and this time I've stuck my little diamantes on before I started building my flowers up. And then I've cut my leaves once again, so I'll put 2 there, and I think I might poke one up there. So once you're happy with how your flowers are sitting, glue your flowers down. There we have our first right hand side card finished. Card 7 is a very easy card to do. Because I've done a full photo mat on the left hand side, I will be replicating that on the right hand side. It just makes it easier on the eye when you're doing things. So that had 3 mats, so I'm following through with this one to have the 3 mats. So this is the sheet up the top here on M1, which is just your normal 6x4 card. So you just need to grunge that up around the edges very gently, because not much is going to show of that, and pop that down. Now remember, I was saying I took the die cut out of one of the pieces because I was short of some cardstock, and I also did the same too for the bit that I needed for my fold card on number 1. I took it out the center of one of my cards I was using. Because it's covered up, you're just making good use of your layering papers. Same as if you had any florals or anything that you wanted to cut from these cards. I just cut them out. So now all we need to do now is just attach these exactly the same as what I did for card number 3. So this goes into the center, and this virtually has a 1/8 of an inch cut off 2 sides off of a 6x4. And then your white photo mat has a 1/4 of an inch cut off 2 sides, which then as you build your layers, you give that lovely photo mat. So as you can tell, this is the one that we had on the left hand side, and this is the one that we have on the right, and as you can see, they sort of match. So there is our card number 7 ready to go. This is card 8, which is in the bottom right hand corner. So we have our card here, which we'll be using the green, and this is the card here that we have cut. So we're just turning it over and using the back side. So we have our 6x4, then we have our pink, which is the 6x4, which I have taken off just a 5 3/4 it is. So that will go on to your cardstock like so, and I'm going to cut just a slither of this. Because once again, this cardstock is just that fraction a bit too small. Then this card, you just need that tiny little bit of a pink border all around, and this card is 5 5/8, and it would be 3 5/8. So that actually just goes onto the card with that tiny little pink border all round. And I've used the cut apart sheet, and I have just cut out the small little dome with the clock to use. So that needs to be cut out. Now the piece of paper I want to be the same size as the green here. So that needs to go on next. So we just pop that over the top of that card and slot that into place. Now my photo mat here, I have got my 3x4, and then I've just cut a tiny little 1/8 of an inch off 2 sides of my 3x4, so that is just a tiny bit smaller than the 3x4. And then that will go onto my card. So you can have a true 3x4 photograph and just cut that down a slither and it will fit onto the photo mat. Then that goes on there. Now what I'm going to do here, I am going to pop this just over the top of that photograph like that, with the bow towards the top. But remember not to put any tape or anything on this side. So we just need a bit of tape on this side, so when we stick it down, we can still get our photograph in there. Now down the bottom, I just want a couple of these cute little flowers to go in. I'm not going to put 3 here because it will become too crowded. And I'm just going to pop a couple of those leaves just into that bottom corner. And once I'm happy with the placement, I will go ahead and I'll stick those down. Just tuck that in. Make sure that diamante is right in the middle, and I'm very, very happy. As you can, I don't know whether you can actually see how sparkly those diamantes are. They are pretty phenomenal, and they were only about $3 for 1,000 of them, so they are a lot cheaper than the ones that are already stuck for you. So there we have our next card, and we'll get on with the last of our landscapes. Now we're doing card 9, and the flowers that you will need are these 2 little flowers down on the side of the page here, which is these 2 here, and then you'll also need the ones, the smaller little cluster that's there, which is this one here. So they're the only 2 flowers you'll need for this, and a few more little leaves to add to that. Now we've got the other half of the die cut that we have, and I do have a 3x4 photo mat which I'm not going to put a mat onto. So this card is very easy to construct. You've got your 6x4 card there. I have got my other card which I have cut 1/4 inch off of 2 sides to pop down as a small little mat. And this sheet here was the sheet that we had cut here off that odd sheet, and that will go in. And if you have a look, I would say that that is 5.5 by 3.5. So then that needs, and I've inked the edges. So we'll just pop that onto our card like so. We now need to just pop this on to our card as well, roughly about 1/2 inch across to match. Now with this one, put your tape just slightly in so that you've got enough room to do some tucking. So just pop this onto your card, and as you can see, I think this needs to come over a bit, so I'm just going to take that off and just move it across so that I've got quite an amount showing, and then stick that down. Now before we really place this card really firmly down, we need these little tiny flowers I'm going to poke just underneath and on the top, and I want one of these leaf clusters just poking out from that rose, and then this one here just pop into the corner and angle it down so that little pink is just underneath. So once you're happy with that placement and you know where you're going to put it, then press it down, and then the other two of these little clusters, just sort of place them in into where you think they would look nice. Once you're happy with your placement, stick your card nice and flat. Now we'll go on to our small 3x4 cards and see how we go. Now from your flower cut apart sheet, you just need to find one of the roses, which I think is this one that's just here in the middle, because you need it roughly about the same size of this rose here for this one. Now we've got a fair amount of fussy cutting to do here. I've got 3 of my cut apart sheets. You need the little kettle with just this 2 roses. You need to cut around that whole thing with the 2 flowers here, and you need to cut this 1 flower out there, but you don't need any of the leaves, it's just the roses that you need. So once again, I've got my 2 photo mats, which I've got my 3x4, and I have just taken off 1/8 of an inch on both sides, so these cards can go down onto their mats. So we'll quickly just pop those on. So there we have our 2 photo mats. Okay, so now we have got the card with the writing on here, which unusually the print is upside down, but there we go. If you have a look, the wording is actually upside down, but the roses need to face upwards. So what I want to do now, this one's quite an easy card to do. We just need to pop this one on, and for the first time basically with this card. I want this to be raised slightly, so I'm just going to put a bit of dimensional tape on this rose, and I've edged all of my cutouts with the brown. So we'll just pop that on there like that. I then am going to put my flowers into where I want them using my liquid glue. Tuck that one just underneath. Now I've got a few of the leaves here, so I'm just going to snip these apart. And attach these as well. One of those leaves need to go on the other layout. There we have, and we need to pop our little diamante into the center of that flower. Like so. Now, as you can tell, I didn't edge this card, so I'll quickly do that now. And there we have that card finished. So this one, what I want is this circle needs to go on to this card like that, because I wanted the polka dot, but I didn't want the same as this other card here to look the same. So what I'm going to do is just do this one absolutely flat and pop the roses down like that, and make sure that's nice and flat. Just got a piece of tape there. Now what I'm going to do here is this little pot is going to go over the top, which is why I've cut out the handle here. Now I do want that raised slightly, so I will use a little bit of dimensional tape. And just pop that right into the middle of everything that's going on there. And then I want these two little roses here to go underneath. I'm sorry, I should have put this in before. Peel that up slightly so you can get underneath, and then attach that rose underneath, but don't attach that yet, because you need to attach that one little leaf that you had left over. I want that attached just underneath that rose. Just to cover where the other foliage is. And then attach that down. Looks better. So there we have our card done, and once again I didn't edge this card, so I'm just going to go and edge this card with some brown. So there we have our 4 cards. And the other 4 cards. So that completes your right hand layout. Now, as promised, I have put all my cards in, but normally you would have your photographs all on these before you put them into the folder, but I do want to show you how I attach the fold card. Now, if you were doing the other way, quite often you have the slits at the top of your pockets here. So if you were doing a flap, it would be very easy. You would just attach it to your card underneath so that your flap would be this way. But unfortunately for me, my opening is here, and if I was doing a flap, if you imagine it this way, it just wouldn't work how I want things to work. So we are going to have to, once you've put your photograph in and you can then attach this, but I will show you how I do my cutting. So you want a tiny little slit in this entry here. So what I tend to do is I put a piece of card in my folder, like so. I then get a nice sharp Stanley blade, and I very gently, with a washable marker, put 2 tiny little dots on my piece of work. I then get a ruler and as you can tell, my little dots are just where the card is, so I've got roughly 1/8 of an inch from where the plastic is. And you don't want to cut right through the slit because then it will gape. So what you need is just 1/8 of an inch in, and just take your Stanley knife and very carefully just cut through the plastic sleeve. So you should have, when you have finished, a slit and if you haven't cut right through, push that paper right in. There we go, we're cutting through now. And then cut down. Now the reason why you put your piece of paper in there is, number one, you can see what you're doing and you won't cut the card underneath. Now as you can tell from my Stanley knife, I have made that split from there to there. Now what will happen now is, once you've put your photographs in, you will put some tape here. Once again, you need that tape just below where your fold is. And make sure you haven't got any of the tape showing. Now you can cut little triangles into this card. It just makes it easier to get it into the folder. So just cut your little triangles. Then what you do then is you poke that underneath the other card. Now if I turn this over, you can actually see where that card goes. So the next time you put a card in the back to do the other layout, it will just go straight over that card, so you don't even know you've got that fold there. So then what happens then is your card has its fold and it's in place. But I wouldn't stick it down to your card because you need to get that photograph into that pocket before you stick it down. Now to get your tape off, you can just open that little slit and get your Stanley blade in and just poke that tape up and just pull it and then attach it down. So that is how you do your little fold cards. And now you know why I actually said that this needs to be really taped down, because it will take a lot of handling. And as I said, you can put a little journaling spot here. Now I did move my cards over because if you have two blank photographs, big ones here, it looked odd. So I actually moved that card, changed them over so they were opposite. So there is your layout, completely finished with your extra flap card.